Hey Knights! So I'm going to read chapter 4 of the Black Butler fanfiction, but before I do that, I would like to clear up something from the first video of chapter 1. So when I was saying con in that video, my best guess to that was like Comic-Con and all that, but I was wrong. Apparently it's a Sakurura. I think I totally just botched the word. It's a convention that's in Washington, and I guess it's pretty popular. That's what the author says, because I got a response from her over it. And so, yeah. But yes, that was... I just wanted to clear that up. And also, I'm going to try not to look down, because I'm reading off of my handy-dandy iPad. And I feel like I just did like a Blue's Clues thing, the handy-dandy notebook, but instead it's a handy-dandy iPad. Obviously, something is wrong with me if I'm doing that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Chapter 4. Celine's point of view. I had been bedridden for 4 days now, and still wasn't allowed to leave my bed. I was mad and now trying my hardest to get out of my room and walk around so that I could do something other than sit in my room. Finney had come to spend time with me when he wasn't busy with his work, and Seal had been barred from coming near me until I could walk again without limping. Today was the day Seal had guests, and I knew all about the rats. Sebastian had told me when he brought me breakfast that I wasn't to leave my room because of the fact that there were guests and I was still hurt. But I knew this was the part where Seal gets kidnapped and Sebastian kills the guy who takes him. Judging by the time of day, Seal should be getting kidnapped soon. I sigh as I sit by the window looking out and see a glint of something. What was that? My ankle still hurts a little, so I bend down to rub it and see if I could get the pain to go when I hear a crash and feel glass rain down on me. I sit up carefully to keep from getting cut and look out the window, but the glint was gone, and I was left barefoot, surrounded by glass. And in case anybody who watches this and has not seen any of the Black Butler episodes, they basically just started describing season 1, I believe episode 2? I believe it was episode 2. I definitely know it wasn't the first one. Yeah, I think it's the second one. Just wanted to put that out there in case anybody doesn't know and wants to follow along with the series. So they're starting at the very beginning-ish area of season 1 of Black Butler, which is probably so far for me, in my opinion, the best season ever. I've yet to watch the third one yet, so I can't really say that until I watch it. I might change my opinion. Back to the story. If my ankle wasn't already hurt, I would try jumping over the glass and onto the bed, but there was no way I would be able to do that without hurting myself more. So I stay where I was waiting for someone to come find me in this situation. More than likely, I would have to sit here like this until Sebastian comes back, because those 3 would be fighting over if they should eat that stupid pie or not. As I sit there, I carefully pick the glass off myself and look out the window. Once it was starting to get dark, and I was sitting there shivering cold because the window... It was starting to get dark, and I was sitting there shivering cold because the window around me was on my floor. I knew none of them would come look for me, and I was hungry, thirsty, and really needed to use the bathroom. I could hear Finney, Bard, and may-rin yelling and talking to Seal, but I couldn't see due to the fact that if I stand up, glass would cut my feet, and I didn't really want that. An hour more of waiting, still no one. I decided I should call for help. Sebastian? Finney? Seal? Someone? I yell. I hear footsteps, and Sebastian comes running in first, soon followed by Seal. Finney didn't come up, probably because Seal told him not to. Celine, what is wrong? Seal asks. The room was dark, so he couldn't see the mess around me until Sebastian lit a candle. Sebastian quickly walks over to me, and the crunching of glass gets on my nerve. Will you please help me out of this glass? Someone shot through the window and would have hit its mark if I hadn't been bent down to rub my ankle, I say. Sebastian brushes some glass off of me before picking me up and carrying me over to the bed. Once I was put on my bed, I jump off of it and run to the bathroom. I was a little embarrassed about the thought that Sebastian or Seal would hear me, but I had been sitting there for a long time, and well, you know how that song and dance goes. Once I was done, I walked out to see Sebastian cleaning up the glass and Seal pacing my room. Glad to see you back in one. Glad to see you're back in one piece. I knew they wouldn't come check on me, so I would have to wait for you to come back, I say before sitting on the bed. Seal frowns a little, and I sigh before pointing to my bag as if to answer some unspoken question he had. I don't like that you know all about me and what is going on in my life. I don't like the fact that my servants left you alone in that chair, unable to move for God knows how many hours. But I mostly don't like the fact that I don't know if I can trust you or not, Seal says as he stands in front of me. I give him a big smile before gently resting a hand on his shoulder. Seal, you can trust me with your life, because I would do anything to save you. I only know about your life because of a manga and anime that I love, and I know that Finny and Bard and may-rin didn't come to get me because they were trying to figure out if Sebastian wanted them to eat the pie or not, I say. Sebastian was behind me in a second. How did you know about that? Sebastian asks. I laugh a little before getting my bag. I pull out my computer and turn it on. After it was on, I plug in the hard drive and open up the second episode of Butler. They watched in amazement until it was over, and I didn't let them see the previews for the next episode. Is that how you know so much about us? Seal asks. I nod and turn off my computer before putting it away. I know a lot about you two and the others, but I'm not sure which way things will go for certain. I didn't want you to think I would tell you all about how things will go and get me to fix all your problems, Seal. Seal, you can trust me because I know what will happen and where I can step in to save you. But if that is too much to ask, then once I can walk on my own without pain, I will leave and go live with someone else who could use my knowledge, I say. Seal nods and sits by me. I suppose you're right. Seeing how I feel I can trust you after being with you for a week and you've never done anything to hurt me, Seal says. Sebastian places a hand on my shoulder and gently squeezes it. You must be hungry. Let's get you and the young master something to eat, Sebastian says. I nod and let Sebastian pick me up and take me down to the dining hall. Say, Seal, does this mean that we're friends now? I ask once I was put in my chair. Seal blushes and looks at the ground. I suppose we are, Seal says. Sebastian doesn't take long to make dinner for us, and we were soon eating. Seeing as how we're friends, would you mind answering some questions for me? Seal asks. I nod my head as I take a big bite of my food. Is it normal for a person to feel protective of them when they have just met? Seal asks. I drop my fork and look at him with wide eyes. Are you talking about soulmates? I ask slowly as I gently wipe my mouth with the napkin. Seal nods and looks over his shoulder to Sebastian. Soulmates are what exactly? Seal asks. I take a deep breath before taking a drink, trying to stall for some time to think. Soulmates are the other half of someone. That person could feel protective, drawn to them for no reason, and interested or in love for them. Why ask me about this? You worried your soulmate is looking for you? I tease. Seal shakes his head before going back to eating. Sebastian's point of view. I was surprised that the young master asked Celine a question that concerned me. Had I been acting that off, that he felt he needed to ask this girl about it? Some of what Celine said made sense and matched how I was feeling. Perhaps this has something to do with when we met she had said she loved me and thought I was sexy. I'd been surprised when she called me first for help, and I had run to her as fast as I could without the others getting suspicious. I had been furious when I saw her sitting there shivering with glass around her, and my rage intensified when she ran from the room to the bathroom. No one had thought to go check on her, and I would be talking to the others about checking on guests more often, so something like this never happens again. Celine and the young master were talking now about how she knew so much about soulmates, so I decided to listen to them. I read a lot of stories about werewolves, and the soulmate thing comes up a lot. There's been very few stories about demons and their soulmates, Celine says before she starts to eat again. The young master shakes his head and watches her eat as they talk. Once they were done, I follow them to the game room, seeing as I had to go clean the study in Celine's room. I leave them to clean quickly, and it didn't take long to clean the study. Once I get to Celine's room, I couldn't bring myself to go in. I shake my head and walk in to see all the glass where I had left it. I take my time cleaning her room because I didn't want her to get hurt by stepping on something that I had missed. Once I was done, I head to the game room to hear them laughing. Celine, do you really like Sebastian? You said when you got here you thought he was sexy, whatever that means, Seal says. I stand by the door to hear what Celine had to say. Seal, I think I'm in love with him, and I know what he is, but that makes me love him more. Look, where I come from, almost every girl dreams that some kind of monster will fall madly in love with them and change their ways for them. But I don't think that way. I love Sebastian for who he is, even if my love never is returned. Please don't tell him. I don't know if I could handle the rejection from him if he knew and didn't feel the same, Celine says. I walk away from the game room back to Celine's room and look around for anything I could use. After a few minutes, I settle on picking out the dress I had made her and pull it out. It was dirty, and as I patted it to get the dirt off, my dirty glove falls out of the fold. I was surprised to see it and quickly picked it up. Celine must have pulled it off me when I wasn't looking and took it to clean it. I looked at her odd clothes in her bag to see what she would like. It was then that I realized that she really did make a dress to match Madame Red's. I would make her another dress, but I needed to know what her favorite color was, so I quickly grab her diary and skim through it until I find that she likes dark purple and dark blues. The next time I go into town, I would get things to make a dress for her. After putting the dress and glove back, I head down to the game room and walk into the room to see them playing pool. The young master looked upset, and I soon found out why. How did you do that? Seal asks. Celine laughs and walks over to him. She still had a small limp, but it was better than it was the day before. It's easy. Come here and I'll show you how to do it, Celine says as she pulls on his hand. The young master follows her and she stands behind him with her hands over his to show him the shot she made. Once they were done, I take Celine to her room before getting the young master ready for bed. Sebastian, she loves you. You know that, right? Seal asks as I dress him. I heard you talking about the subject, young master. Why would you ask her such a thing? I say once I was done. My young master smiles at me before laying down. I've never seen you smile at anyone the way you would when you see a cat. Is she your new cat, Sebastian? Seal teases me. I sigh a little as I pull the blankets up over him. I suppose she is. Speaking of, she only has the one dress. I was hoping you would allow me to get material to make her a few other dresses, I say. Seal nods his head before rolling over to sleep. I head to my room to make a list of all the things I would need to make Celine a beautiful dress that she will love until the end of time. Once she sees the dresses I made her, she will know I have some of the same feelings for her. Okay, I'm going to add Chapter 5 to this, so this is a Chapter 4 and Chapter 5 video. So Chapter 5, Celine's point of view. Seal and Sebastian said I was no longer hurt about 3 days after the kidnapping incident. Sebastian and Seal had gone into town to do some shopping, so I was in my dress out in the garden, watching the others run around. Seal had wanted to order Bard to stay away from me, but I told him that it wasn't necessary for him to do that. I was introduced to Grell, and I turned a cold shoulder to him. Celine, why don't you like Grell? Vinny asks when he sits by me. I look over at him, then over at the others. I frown because I'm not sure how to tell him that I don't like that man, because he is, in my eyes, a rival for love. He just rubs me the wrong way. There's something about him that makes me not like him, I say. I knew he was making skulls, and I was never sure if he did it on purpose or not. That's a good question. Does Grell make the hedges into skulls? Like, is that like his way of saying, hey, I'm not normal? Or just a foreshadow for later in the series when, like, hey, something's wrong with this character and keep an eye on him? That's a great thing to ask. Totally off topic, sorry. I think it was a convenient foreshadowing tool to show that he was different from normal people. See? Fanny stands before turning to look at me. Come help me with some things in the garden. Finny asks as he holds out his hand to me. I gave him a smile because I really couldn't say no to the clumsy gardener. I place my hand in his, and he gently pulls me up, and we walk over to the others. Grell starts to ask questions, and Tonica, the real one, not the little cheapy guy who's going ho 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 with the little cup in his hands, the full adult version, shows up and explains everything. I knew Lizzie would be showing up soon, so I took the time to step away when the others were busy dealing with Grell's suicide attempt. I didn't want to be dragged into the ball Lizzie was going to hold, so I keep out of the house and walk around the rose garden. I feel hands on my shoulder and turn to see Sebastian with one of his smiles. Then he said you were out here in the garden and you refuse to come in. Why is that? Sebastian asks as he lets me go. I sigh and look over at a big white rose bush. I don't want to be dragged into the silly ball she will be holding, or dress up in one of her cute dresses, and I don't know how to dance the way it's done here. So I decided to stay in the garden until she was gone, I say as I shrug my shoulders. I turn away from Sebastian and walk over to the entrance of the maze. Don't go in there without me or the young master. Please come inside. You can play some music instead of dancing like the others, Sebastian says. I nod my head and follow Sebastian into the manor. Lizzie was smiling, and once she sees me, she stops what she is doing. Seal, who is this? Lizzie asks as she points at me. Seal looks a little unhappy and sighs before looking at me. Elizabeth, this is Celine. She's staying with me for a while. I was thinking of asking her to help me in some of my work, Seal says. Lucy frowns but doesn't make a scene about it. Lady Elizabeth, it is very nice to meet you, I say before Sebastian grabs my elbow and pulls me from the room. He pulls me to the kitchen and lets me go. Lady Elizabeth doesn't seem to like me. Is she afraid I would take Seal away from her? I ask as I watch Sebastian work on some sweets. It was amazing watching him cook because I knew he wasn't holding back his speed. That might be why she dislikes you. I heard from Bard and Finny that you dislike Grell. Why is that? Sebastian asks as he looks over at me. I take a deep breath and look at the ground. Something about him is wrong, and it makes me feel, I say, letting my sentence fall because I didn't know how to not tell him about Grell. As if reading my mind, Grell walks into the room and gives me a hateful look before going over to Sebastian to ask him about different things. I sigh and leave them alone because I knew if I didn't, I would attack the Grim Reaper that was hitting on my demon. Wow, I was becoming way too possessive of Sebastian, and he didn't even know the depths of my feeling for him. I walk up to my room and grab out my diary before flipping to the end of my writing. I start writing about all that had happened and how I was willing to try killing Grell for getting in my way of being with Sebastian. I was getting too obsessed and needed to get away from all of this. It was time for me to leave for a while and go out into the world and meet new people, like my favorite Grim Reaper, Undertaker. That's everyone's favorite Grim Reaper besides Grell, but Undertaker, oh, he's perfect. Those are my two favorite characters, is Sebastian and Undertaker. Hands down. I was left alone for a while and Sebastian came into my room. Celine, I brought you something to wear while playing, Sebastian says before holding out a dress that was dark red, almost ruby-colored. I walked over to it and take it from him. Did you make this, Sebastian? I ask as I hold it against my body. No, but I can make a dress in the same style if it's what you like, Sebastian says. I turned to look at him before hanging the dress up. I walked over him before throwing my arms around him and gently kissing his cheek. Thank you, Sebastian. I've never had something so pretty before, I say as I let him go. Sebastian had a little blush on his face, and he was smiling a real smile. Celine, let me help you change your dress, then we can go down, Sebastian says. That was my turn to blush, and I gave a small nod, letting him help me out of my dirty dress into the new one. We walk down, and I stand by Finny and Bard as we wait for Seal to come down. Lady Elizabeth was going on about how cute everyone looked until she stopped in front of me. Your dress is not cute at all, Elizabeth yells. I could feel the tears start to form, but I was saved by Sebastian and Seal coming down the stairs. I wouldn't let any of them see me cry, so as the drama of Elizabeth breaking Seal's ring is going on, I slip out of the room and out to the garden. I stay outside until I hear Elizabeth leave with Grell. I had cried for a good hour and knew that my eyes were probably puffy and red. I slipped back into the manor and was soon stopped when gloved hands covered my eyes. Where did you run off to? I left you down here with those three, and when the young master and I came back, you're gone, Sebastian says. I feel the tears start again, and he must have felt the wetness of them, because he pulls his hand away and turns me around. Elizabeth said my dress wasn't cute and looked like she was going to take something sharp to it, so I left to keep from making things hard on Seal, I say as tears run down my face. Sebastian pulls out his hanky and starts to wipe my face, but that doesn't stop the tears that were falling. Sebastian's point of view. Celine was crying so hard I thought she might get sick from it, and after crying for a few minutes, I cleaned all the mess away before letting her lean into me. The young master wants to see you. After you are done talking, I will give you some hot tea that should help. What kind of tea would you like? I ask after she pulls away from me. She gives me a small half-smile and lets me lead her to the young master. Sebastian, make me whatever kind of tea that you would like, Celine whispers before I open the door for her. Celine walks over to the young master's desk, and he gets up before walking over to her. You look lovely in that dress, he says before bowing and holding out his hands. I don't dance, Seal, Celine says. Seal frowns a little but doesn't push it. Celine sits in the chair across from his desk, and they talk about where she went and why. The young master was unhappy to hear about what Lady Elizabeth had said, but Celine tried to convince him that getting mad and jealous was normal for women when it came to the man they love. When she said that, she made little looks at me, and a blush beads across her face whenever she did look at me. The young master says he is ready for bed, and I follow him to his room, which means I have to leave Celine alone. After I got the young master settled, I went to go look for Celine. I found her in her room, already asleep. I sit in the chair that I have placed by her bed and watch her sleep. I leave her room early to go prepare for tomorrow and work on the dresses I wanted to make for Celine. To tell the truth, I had some feelings for her, and when I had seen her crying over what Lady Elizabeth had said, it had hurt me on some level because I had chosen that dress for Celine. Celine's point of view. It had been almost a week since the whole thing with Elizabeth, and I was sitting in the garden in one of the dresses Sebastian had made me. It was dark purple with lavender details. I loved the dress, but I had been avoiding Sebastian the best I could, because it was hard to be around him without just telling him everything. Finny pulls me out of my thoughts when he runs over. Celine, Sebastian is looking for you, Finny says as he stops by me. I nod my head and stand to go and find some place to hide. I had stayed away from the maze in the garden because Sebastian had asked me to, but today I was feeling the need to rebel against the rules set out for me. So I walked into the maze, and after about 20 minutes of walking, I got lost. I should have listened to him, I mumbled as I tried backtracking to where I thought I'd come from. I find a bench to sit on, so I stop at it and sit there before slipping off my heels. It didn't take long for me to hear footsteps walking in the maze, and I started to become afraid. Celine, Sebastian yells. I relax a little before yelling back at him. He soon walks over to me with a look of relief on his face. The young master wanted to talk with you and send me to find you. What are you doing out here? I thought I told you not to come into the maze alone, Sebastian says once he was standing next to me. I stand with my heels in my hand. Sebastian, seeing this, picks me up and starts walking back to the manor. You did tell me not to come in here, but I felt like I needed to break the rules, I say after we were walking for a few minutes. Sebastian chuckles, and the way his chest moves against my body makes me blush. From now on, listen to me when I say not to go somewhere, Sebastian whispers in my ear. I nod my head and was amazed to see Sebastian smile. Sebastian puts me down once we get to the manor. I sit and put my heels back on before following him up to Seal's study. Seal looked upset when I walked in, but after seeing me, he relaxes a little. What is wrong, Seal? I ask as I walk over to him and gently place my hand on his head. I have a case and might need your help. I'm going after Jack the Ripper, Seal says. I freeze in my spot by him. I'll help the best I can. Is that the only reason you called for me? I ask. I was panicking on the inside as I keep calm on the outside. Yes, we will be leaving tomorrow morning, so I need you to be ready to go, Seal says. I nod before heading up to my room and packing the few things I have that I can wear in this time. Sebastian comes to get me for dinner, and as we eat, Seal talks about the best way to catch this murder. I sigh, and by the time I head to bed, I feel like my insides were knotted up tighter than anything I could think of. Okay, I'm gonna end that there for this video. I might post another one soon, either of this one or another film or story. Yeah, I'll probably figure it out in the next few hours after posting this. So yeah, peace out, nights.